Welcome back to the Pig Trail Show. We're joined right now by, you know him, you love him, Kevin McPherson, to talk some hog hoops. Kevin, we have had so much to talk about with Arkansas basketball, and it's weird because I have to keep reminding myself it's summer, and we
Yeah,
still have so much to talk about.
we do, Courtney, because they have this special extra foreign tour. Now the team has arrived. They're in Valencia, Spain. The flight took off Saturday, and here we are talking about them, and they're there now. Games don't start until Tuesday, so we'll get into a little bit of that. But certainly, the buildup of excitement of this team adds to it because of all the newcomers, the 3 5 stars, the success Arkansas's had under Eric Musselman in back-to-back Elite Eight runs. So when you start putting all that together, and I tweeted this the other day when I knew they were about to lift off, has there been a time in July or August where there's been this much excitement around the basketball program because they've had other summer trips before? The answer to that is no, because
Yep.
there hasn't been as much build up and expectation for the upcoming season as there is right now. And I think the other part of it is when you look at the dynamics of it, um, media got to go to practice. There were 2 open practices within a week span. The most recent one was Wednesday. You were there. I was there. I
Yes.
want to talk a little bit about that. But I think anytime your program is starting to open up a little bit before a trip like this, these opportunities would not be here until late September, early October, even for media. But because of the tour, the NCAA allows 10 full practices, and media can only attend portions of a full practice according to rules. But the way it would have been if there was no summer tour would just be those limited practices. Media can't get in. So you've had all kinds of stuff kind of building up to this tour. Now you got to go win games. They're not going to be in midseason form, but fans are going to be thinking this team should win every game. 4 games. I guess I'm putting the pressure on them now. Two in Spain again, two in Italy to wrap it up, and then they'll come home mid-month. So we're a couple of days away now from that opening game. But how about we talk about practice? I really would love to jump into some of that because
Oh,
we
yeah.
got to see a lot.
Oh, yeah. Especially going to ask you because I didn't get to go to the first one. I just got to go to the one this past week. And I got so excited just being around this team, seeing the size of this team. I was dropped my mouth at how big these guys are and how different that's going to be this upcoming season. But the other thing I noticed about practice, and I think Musselman even touched on this in the press conference, is how intense they were for summer practices. And I know they take this European tour very, very seriously, and they should because they need to go and prove that they're not just good in the state of Arkansas. They're not just good in the United States. They're good overseas as well. But it just was so intense. I wonder if you got the same perception from practice that, man, these guys are giving it their all, and it's summer.
I did. In fact, I asked Musselman that question in the press conference about the intensity, and he downplayed it. He goes, well, he was making a bigger point actually. He said it was kind of like a 6 out on a chart of 10 that particular day. So we saw it as intense, but I think his point is sometimes it gets ratcheted up even more.
Mm.
So it wasn't necessarily to dismiss the notion that was intense. I think it was to maybe elevate the idea that we're serious around here, and that when you watch the structure of practice, there's no wasted time. They're constantly moving. They don't wear something out, spend a lot of time on something. They keep moving and they get their agenda that they have planned out for practice. Make sure it moves along. If you're not moving, you're not getting better, I think is the philosophy there. Musselman's a high energy, enthusiastic guy, which promotes that intensity. You see the players. We talk about the physical stuff. What I really liked in the 5-on-5 scrimmaging we saw a week before last, you weren't there, and then this past week was mostly drill work. But what I really like to see come together, some of the cohesion I saw in some of the defensive drills. I think I've seen enough to suggest this team's going to be a better 3-point shooting team
Mm.
than it was a year ago, which by golly, it better be. That team ranked in the 300s wasn't very good, so you think it can't get much worse. But I think it'll be improved. But I think this team will play faster. Transition, I've been talking about it so much because when you have size, length, and athleticism, you can get out to the races. And then you've got facilitators in the open court like Nick Smith Jr. and Anthony Black who can pick and choose, and a bunch of above the rim guys running, ready to get on that rim. I think Arkansas is going to be a good transition team. The key is going to be if you're going to find a button to push let's say to be improved on in transition, you want to make sure that your transition defense doesn't give it back. Arkansas, I
Mm,
thought, was a good transition defensive team last year. So those are the things that we'll start to see unfold. One of the things also in practice I want to mention, this is obvious to everybody by now, it's not breaking news, but to see Nick Smith Jr. not be full go in practice the other day with
right.
that finger injury, non-shooting hand, left index finger. I know he had a doctor's appointment on Friday. He's with the team. That would have been regardless of an appointment. We don't know yet if they're shutting him down, if he's going to play. Will there be a delay? He's going to play, but maybe not the first game. These are all things that are probably on the table here with that deep bone bruise, which causes any bone bruise anywhere is a nagging injury.
Yeah,
It's
it
not
is.
necessarily debilitating or something that can get worse and be problematic that way, but just pain, swelling, and so those are always day to day. But I've got a feeling if the doctor greenlighted him in any way, shape, or form, Nick Smith is such a competitor, and if he has any say in it, that guy's going to play the first. He'll be on the floor to start the game,
Oh,
the
yeah.
first game. So we'll see. I don't want to put out there that that's what's happening. I'm just saying if it's that positive of news of any kind of clearance, if it turns out that way, I expect we're going to see Nick Smith to play and them not be overly cautious here because they do have time until the season, and it's not something debilitating, like I said.
Yeah, I would love to see him play just because I know the fans want to see him. We just want to see him in action with this team. So, I mean, I hope he gets to play, but obviously we want him to be 100% healthy. I wouldn't want him to play if he was, 95% healthy, right? I mean, and even Coach Muss said that, if there's any doubt that he's not going to be okay, we're not going to play him. So, we hope that he's good and he's healthy and ready to go. You mentioned pace and speed of practice. And I think that's what kind of leads us to believe the intensity was very high. And honestly, it's kind of nice they're doing this European tour because of the way the FIBA rules are. The pace of those games are just quicker just because of those rule changes, the shot clock being less and backcourt violation time is shorter. So I think that's what leads the pace to be a little bit quicker. And honestly, I know Coach Muss was even saying, like, hey, it may not be something that, even though we're practicing for all these rules, it may not be something that carries over into the season, but I think it is something that will ultimately help them going into the NCAA season, right? I mean, it's got to just with all this practice and with these rule changes and using some of those things to go into the college season.
Yeah. So you hit some good high points there. I think one of the biggest things is when you get the extra time to practice, that's a benefit. You're getting games against other competition. So you've been going against each other. You always hear people talk about that when their season finally gets here, they're going to play somebody else. It's not just because you see the same guys and you beat up on each other. You can actually improve if you have a roster loaded with talent like Arkansas has, because now you're probably not going to expect to see that kind of talent. You might see guys that are older, though. We don't know exactly who they're playing over there. I
Yeah.
haven't researched these teams, and I will. But the point is that now you're going to start seeing the guys come together as 13 on scholarship, um, figuring out rotations now. I mean, you're going to start to see some personnel combinations at work. I don't think Musman's going to miss this opportunity to let everybody play and give everybody a good long look. We'll see how minutes are distributed. You don't ever want to plant your own flag in what Musman's going to do because he'll take care of that. So we'll see how he sorts it all out. But I do think we're going to see all the scholarship players get plenty of run.
Hmm.
Uh, and I think that we might even start to see in our own minds an impression of what combinations look good.
Yeah.
And then you don't want to take too many absolutes from it because again, this is, the quality of some of these teams, we need to kind of factor that in when we see it. We don't know yet because you don't want to make, I mean, I've seen it before in these types of things where guys that, put up big numbers or did certain things when it came to real basketball, once their real season started a few months later, didn't produce at that level. And conversely, and Musman talked about, he had a player that didn't do well on a foreign exhibition tour,
Mm.
yet had a strong season. So you don't want to form too many permanent absolutes coming out of it, but you can learn some things. And I think what you talk about, speed of the game, what's interesting is 30-second shot clock in college, 24-second international, 8 seconds to get across half court in international. We know it's 10 seconds in college. And so I think for a team that's designed to be a better transition team, this opportunity helps them actually crash course it because they're going to have to play a little faster than they will when it counts anyway. So I think
Exactly.
it helps promote maybe learning how good they can be in transition. I think the other thing is when I look at Arkansas struggles the past couple of seasons, mid-season it really to me was a lack of cohesiveness on the defensive end, both ends, but on defense is where they fix it. That's where the tweaks were made. That's where things got figured out, and then other stuff kind of fell into place around it. And I think this early we shouldn't expect a whole lot. I mean, I think physically, talent-wise, Arkansas is probably going to be on another level than these teams.
Hmm.
But that doesn't always mean that the product looks like a well-run machine right out of the gates. Not in early August anyway. And there may be things where like, wow, they've already got this figured out. So I can't wait to see it all unfold because we just don't know yet. We know Arkansas's got a roster full of stars, though, relative to what most teams have in the country in college basketball, because the recruiting rankings tell us that. And
Yeah.
Musselman's results tell us that he knows how to pull that stuff together at some point. I can't wait. I wish the games were starting now.
Me
I would do
too.
this and I look the other direction to watch. I mean, we can talk about it. I wish they were going right now.
Me too. And you mentioned, I mean, obviously they're going against people who are not themselves. So it's going to help just seeing different competition. And I know a lot of people say, oh, is Europe going to be good? And well, my dad coached in Europe. There are good players. There are guys who are very talented, and they're going to come out. And I think even Jordan Walsh said this. They're going to come out and they don't want Americans to win. They don't want them to win. They want to win. They want to prove they're the biggest, baddest dogs out there. So it's going to be good competition. Having said that, I think it's going to be very beneficial for these guys to see that type of competition. Now, do I think they'll go over there and win all the games? I hope so. I hope that they prove that Arkansas is the best and go over there and show those guys what they're made of. So, but I think you're exactly right. It's good to see other competition outside of themselves and going against themselves in practice. But we have so much more to talk about. I want to get a recruiting update from you as well on 2023 and 2024 as well, right? With some of the visits to the university.
Yeah, this past week, Honor Boateng, 6'5" wing, Little Rock Central. The 16 and under Arkansas Hogs had a strong spring and summer on that Adidas 3SSB circuit. And Arkansas coaches were out to see him throughout during those live periods, including Eric Musselman just a few weeks ago in late July when they played out in Seal Beach, California, the Hogs. But Boateng is a guy that's had an Arkansas offer for over a year, explosive, chiseled, one of the best slashers I've seen because of he's got explosive leaping. And for a guy 6'5" that's put together right, he's quick and fast. A to B speed, very quick. So a guy that kind of puts all that together to be an above the rim player, but he's also really been working on his ball skills, handling the ball, setting up his mid-range shot, knocking down three-pointers. He averaged 25 points a game in the first July live period in the Adidas 3SSB circuit event out in South Carolina, and averaged roughly 18 points a game this last event when he was and then he finished among the top 10 most efficient scorers on the Adidas circuit, which says a lot because sometimes you can be misled by production. If a guy's taking a ton of shots to get that production, he may not be helping his team a lot. And Boateng does other things. So I think the fact that Arkansas has been prioritizing him, how do we know this? Because he's been on campus now twice in the last 5 weeks. Late June,
Nice.
I came in to watch practice, unofficial visit, and then again on Thursday, just late in the week, and did a little bit more. Went to practice, had more of a visit. It wasn't an official; it was unofficial. But he came out of it and told me, we had an article immediately, for his reaction, said it was awesome. Really
Nice.
likes the way we're talking about practice, likes that pace, likes the energy, the intensity. So he sees it. He's a guy that talked about, really liking what he's seen so far with campus stuff. And, anytime you can showcase your program and your campus and things and get the players on campus to do that. Zoom is great. The pandemic
Yeah.
had to do it that way. There's nothing like doing it in person. You got an in-state guy. Boateng's ranked top 40 in the country, number 36, high-level 4-star by 247 Sports. I think he's a guy with potential, not saying he will. He might have potential to get to that 5-star status. And he's got multiple high major offers already, including, in addition to Arkansas, including Auburn, Memphis, UCLA may be very close to offering him, but he's got others. I just mentioned a few. But here's a guy that, again, coming off that campus visit, two now in 5 weeks. And when I bugged him about this, I didn't publish this, but I did say, who stood out to you? And the guy he mentioned was Ricky Council. And that's his
Wow.
wheelhouse, man. You're talking 6'5", 6'6" wing with explosive ability. Boateng brings that. I think Boateng, what I haven't said about him is I think he last year was arguably the top on-ball defender in the state. You got to remember, you had two 5 stars that are projected to go in the lottery in a year, Nick Smith Jr. and Khalil Ware in the state playing. But I think Boateng might have been the best on-ball defender, and we're going to see his game continue to rise. But this is a special player, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so it's good that Arkansas, it's good that they keep getting guys back to campus, because the more he visits Arkansas and the more he likes, maybe the closer those two get to coming together on a commitment. I'm not trying to predict that. I'm saying that's why you get them on campus. You make
Oh,
the
for
offer, you get
sure.
them on campus. The next step, can you get them committed to the program? Class of 2023, we know Layden Blocker is already committed, another Little Rock area native, class of 23, ranked national number 28, so another high level 4 star. That happened in June. He visited in early June, committed late June. But Arkansas is trying to, fill in some spots around him in that class from the high school level. We know Ron Hollins, a 5 star, 6'8" to Duncanville, Texas, has already taken that official visit. Arkansas is in his final 5. Keeping an eye on that. I always say keep an eye on Kentucky, G League Ignite. I think UCLA is another one that's the dark horse, but I don't know how. So we just kind of watch that. It's been kind of quiet from his camp after winning that gold medal for
Mm.
17U in the World Cup, FIBA World Cup. But guys that I think Arkansas, and I've said it on this show going back weeks. I think I was the first one to say Arkansas is in the lead for Bayfall, and his teammate is Sonny Diop. Both 6'10", both out of Denver. Played at Denver Prep Academy last year. It's going to be accelerated schools out of Denver this year for their senior seasons. Arkansas's really been made those two guys a priority. You could tell that in the live periods where the coaches are going,
Mm.
including Eric Grossman, also on that Adidas 3SSB circuit late July at Seal Beach in California. But Fall's 6'10", a 5 star, top 15 guy, explosive. You talk about length, 7'3", 7'4" wingspan. Um, you know, quickness both on offense and defense added to all that length and size, because sometimes bigger guys aren't necessarily quick. He brings all of it. Quick explosion. He gets out of his area to block shots or rebound. Asani Diop, also 6'10", but they're different kind of players. Diop's more of a 3-4 type. He can face up, slash in, shoot a little bit, pass. So they complement each other. It's not one or the other. They can play together. But I think Arkansas leads for both. They took an unofficial visit to Arkansas back in February when Arkansas beat Kentucky at Bud Walton Arena. After that game, they met with the staff in the Performance Center. Spent a good amount of time on that unofficial visit that day. But I think they're going to come back for. Not only do I think Arkansas is in the lead, we know, and I know, talking to their mentor and their coach, Greg Willis, that these guys are looking to take an official visit sometime during football season. I keep hearing it's probably going to be likely to be the Arkansas Alabama game on October 1 that weekend. We'll see. I don't want to plant that in everybody's head as that's what's going to happen, but I think it could happen. I think that's the date that might be interesting to everybody. But we'll see. But I do think that these guys are going to take an official visit during football season. September, October. And then there's Wesley Yates, a guard out of Beaumont, Texas, 6'4", that Arkansas has made a priority of. His family and his family have told me multiple times he plans to visit Arkansas. And, they were looking at doing that, trying to jam one in July. That didn't happen. And then they told me
Mm.
going to be sometime, maybe late August at the soonest. So again, football season comes to mind. Maybe
Oh, yeah.
there's some other names out there, Zayden High, big man out of Texas. But for now, I think we've hit the hot spots right now, because recruiting, this is the other thing. While they're in Europe, I have no doubt that this staff is going to maintain relationships, texts, phone calls, anything that's permissible with recruiting back in the States. They're over there to have some fun and win some games and have this experience, team bonding, but they're not going to let their guard down for 10 or however many days they're there and recruiting.
Absolutely not, Kevin. It's always exciting chatting with you because you get me so hyped for what's to come with Arkansas basketball. It's not just going to be great this season, it's going to be great for the seasons to come as well. So we appreciate you hopping on and chatting with us today.
Thank you, Courtney. Good to be with you. Now we will have something next Sunday, right? We'll have some games under our belt to
We will. We'll have a
top
lot
it
more
up.
to talk
Top it
about
up.
next Sunday. Thank you so much for joining us today, Kevin, on the show. We'll have much more pig trail coming up after the break. Stay with us.